Both candidates say they leave politics at the door when they're on the bench. Politics are front and center in North Carolina's Supreme Court races this year, as both parties fight it out to see who will control the high court. Lucy Inman and Richard Dietz currently serve as judges on North Carolina's Court of Appeals. Both say their job on the bench is not governed by their political affiliation. But one of them is more concerned about the future influence of politics on the courts.
My message is that North Carolina's courts are in danger of being taken over by partisan politics and being transformed into just another political branch of government.
Your opponent says that the court is in danger of being taken over by partisan politics. You agree with that?
No, I think the takeover seems a little aggressive. I think the problem is there are just judges or candidates who the public can see. They look at them and they say, you look like you're on a political mission. You know?
Voters typically don't know much about the judicial candidates they find on the ballot. How do you vote for a judge? Do you have an answer for voters?
I think what the public should look for in selecting a judge is, where can I find that kind of leader that I want to see for the court system? Somebody that I know can put on the robe and be fair and impartial, sort of be the umpire calling the balls and the strikes in the courtroom.
They should look for a judge whose opinions they can read and understand, because you don't need to be a lawyer to understand a court opinion. If the court has written an opinion that only lawyers understand, it hasn't done its job.
But how many voters take the time to read a judge's opinions before casting their vote? In 2016, North Carolina became the first state in almost a century to make Supreme Court races partisan. Voters will find a D or an R next to the candidate's name on the ballot this year. Beyond that, it's up to the candidates to reach out to the public. And this year, judges are raising a lot of money to get their message out. You have raised more than $1 million for this race. Is that a good, healthy sign for North Carolina?
Well, I'll have to say that when I ran in 2014, I didn't raise nearly as much money, and it was a nonpartisan race.
Is it good for North Carolina for that much money to be spent on a judicial race?
Yeah, I do worry about it. There's a lot of outside money. In fact, I've seen some reports saying this is going to be unprecedented, the 2022 elections.
A spokesman for the Dietz campaign says they've raised $800,000. Confidence in the courts is not very high right now. A recent poll shows only half of voters say they trust the state courts. Inman blames partisan politics.
We have a history in North Carolina of judges not always agreeing and not falling along party lines in their decisions. That has changed. That has changed dramatically since 2020. We have justices who, if you look statistically at justices, you have some justices who vote together in more than 90% of every case they hear.
Dietz describes himself as a judicial conservative, but says he's not a political conservative.
There is no political dimension to what I'm doing, and there shouldn't be for any other judge. I'm not bringing anything with me, no political mission. The only mission, since the moment I became a Court of Appeals judge years ago, I took an oath. I said, I'm going to defend your rights. I'm going to protect the rule of law.
Is there any other way? What is any difference that you could share between yourself and your opponent?
I believe that my experience practicing law in the trial courts and presiding in the trial courts prepares me in a manner that distinguishes me from my opponent. He's never been a trial judge, and his practice has been completely appellate work. I know that every case involves a person. I've seen those people. I think that distinguishes me.
Your opponent says you've never been a trial judge. Is that true?
Yes, so my expertise was appeals, although I often joke with people, I hear trial judges all the time say, you really have to be a trial judge to understand what's going on in a trial. And I don't know if I agree with that.
Abortion, gerrymandering, and school funding are some of the major issues that justices may decide in the coming year. There are two races up for grabs on the Supreme Court. If Republicans win both of them, they'll control the high court through 2028. Bill O'Neill, WXII 12 News.